what these companies do with the government.
So we know a lot about China's ambitions, at least what they've said. How far, if you're looking at the debates in China, how far behind do they feel that they are? And who are they looking to and in the rest of the world?
Yeah, it's funny because when the State Council released the July 2017 plan, everyone in the West freaked out and was like, China has a plan to rule the world in AI. But actually, as I was going through some of the strategic documents from this Tencent book I mentioned earlier, one of the chapters was saying that actually Chinese leaders viewed them as falling behind in setting these AI development plans, and that other countries like the US and the UK had already issued strategic national level documents on this issue. So it is kind of an interesting case of misperception of both sides feeling they're behind and needing to push forward. I will say the AlphaGo moment in March 2016 was a big turning point as well, where especially in the public, there was this realization of the power of AI, and that started a lot of the hype that we're seeing.
Yeah, and one of Jeffrey's emails, he noted that there was a massive increase in searches on Baidu around AlphaGo, but also obviously it sparks huge concerns in your report about in the Chinese military.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear from you about this, because apparently there was a symposium or a workshop on AlphaGo with the title AlphaGo and the intelligenceization, I can't even say that, of military command and decision making. So they perceived it as a Sputnik moment of some kind, that suddenly AlphaGo was happening and it's something that they were getting behind.
Yeah.
What's that done in terms of the kind of the relationship with the AI and the military, which again is something you look at quite closely?
Yeah. So this is not exactly my area of expertise, but people at Center for New American Security, Elsa Kanya, she pointed me towards this workshop that happened right after AlphaGo, and it just so happens that Go has a long history of being a strategic game, especially in Chinese military culture. So you see some People's Liberation Army leaders who actually hold a dual position as the head of the Go Association. So that's something that I've noticed is there is that connection, and it just happened to be that Go is a game that's pretty central to military dynamics. So the intelligentization of warfare.
You said it much better than me.
There's intelligentization of warfare. There's informatization of warfare, but it points to kind of competition, not necessarily in the form of a specific AI weapon, which I think is what we gravitate to, but I see more of the emerging lines of conflict around how do militaries organize information better. So the distinction in history is kind of, a lot of people viewed the US's victory over Iraq and the Persian Gulf War as a victory of precision weapons and just stealth technology. Other people argue that it was more about how these technologies were organized together, and they point to other revolutions of warfare, such as in World War I, World War II, where there's better organization of artillery. And so AI kind of like may propel forms of systems warfare, where you have Navy ships operating as one organism, and that might be a more tangible area of military conflict between US and China in areas like the South China Sea or the Pacific.
Are we in an arms race with China around AI?
Yeah, I'm very hesitant to use the word arms race, just because I think it's a little bit almost insulting to the types of arms races we've had in the past, where I see arms races as very much almost wasteful expenses on narrow technologies that have no use aside from propelling states in a security dilemma and like kind of creating these escalating dynamics. And I don't see that with AI. Kind of the stuff that I'm talking about with military improvements are very much, some of these will be just efficiency improvements, like stuff that Palantir is doing with the US military. Some of these will just be like how you're organizing your military. So I hesitate to use the word arms race, just because it connotes this idea of extremely wasteful spending for notions of deterrence and security dilemma. Whereas here you have a technology that the spending isn't really going to waste because it's so general purpose.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be more precise with our language on that one.
Talking about sort of long-term ambitions of China, one thing that I think is really interesting is how the role that they're now playing in thinking ahead about setting technical standards in AI.